It's hour number 2 of OverDrive. My name is Brendan Dunlop. Very happy to be alongside former Toronto Maple Leaf, Frankie Corrado. It's been a day.
Dude, what is going on in Leafs Nation right now?
It's been a Wednesday. Leafs players like talking. First, it was William Nylander telling everybody he wants to stay in Toronto. And now, to read between the tweet lines on the X, it seems like Auston Matthews is telling us he's staying in Toronto, Frank.
This is very un-Auston Matthews-like for him to tweet from his personal account. So he tweets, "I feel fortunate to continue this journey as a Maple Leaf in front of the best fans in hockey. I will do everything I can to help us get to the top of the mountain. Go Leafs go. Hashtag Leafs forever."
Do you guys think he could have gotten hacked? Like, I hate that this is the first place my mind went, but I don't know.
It should. Okay, so the tweet went out 4 minutes ago. Realistically, that tweet should coincide with a Leafs press release saying we have signed Auston Matthews to X amount of years, X amount of dollars, but that hasn't come through yet.
But as someone who never speaks, doesn't he want to be the one to make the announcement? Couldn't you see him jump in the team?
No, you work together with the team. Like, you'll work together with the PR team to say, okay, we're going to put out a press release at 5 o'clock. Go ahead, we can tweet it out basically at the same time.
But he's in Arizona, so he's got the time zones wrong.
I don't know, man. Like, my phone's blowing up with people like, is this actually him? Is it?
Do you got to take a break? Do you need me to vamp? Do you need me to hold down the fort?
No, it's okay. Like, this is usually what would happen when Hayes would miss a show. Something big would happen. And if he misses today's show and this is the day that the Matthews extension comes through, like, this is very on brand. Very on brand.
To go down Grappler's point, the first thing that I noticed was that he has a blue verified check mark, which means he's paying the $100 a year to be verified on Twitter still and keep it. Whereas I feel like the people who had it initially, very few of those people have paid to keep the blue check mark. So that was my hesitation. Not a big Twitter guy.
I am a big Twitter guy. Like, I'm not a big tweeter, but I'm into a lot of things on Twitter. Like, I'm always creeping stuff. I got the blue check mark.
Oh, you did?
I got it. I paid for it. And I've shared this story before as to why I got it. The day we were doing Free Agent Frenzy was the day that you couldn't refresh your page. So it was like rate limit exceeded.
Rate limit exceeded, yeah.
So I thought that if I bought it right there on the spot, that would bypass that, and I needed it that day for work. Sure enough, it did nothing, but now I'm stuck with it, so I might as well use it for a year and see how it goes. So
there's you, Frankie Corrado, and your tens of thousands of followers. Auston Matthews is not that frequent on Twitter because he's got 265,000. For an elite athlete in a major market in North America, you're just expecting 7-figure followers.
Yes.
That's what I thought,
yeah.
Right? But you and then it's a bunch of people that are tweeting about things that take you down to doom scroll.
Yeah.
Like those, I feel like that's the category of people that have the blue check mark.
I'm also...
No offense.
I also just got myself in some trouble because my wife texted me and said, "You pay for the blue check mark, ... I did not know this." I think it's $8 a month. So
you didn't do the annual? It's cheaper if you do the annual.
That's what it works out to. It works out to $8 a month.
Oh, okay. The old Netflix rate.
Yeah, something like that. Anyways.
Now Mrs. Corrado's checking all the credit card statements now, Frank.
Yeah. What does this mean? Did Matthews sign? What are we doing here?
We're waiting to find out the deal. Grappler's working heavy on the phones. He's going all serious NHL trade deadline day. I feel very privileged to be in the seat. I've always just sat back at home and watched you guys bring llamas through here and James Duthie work his magic for 19 hours on television. And now, boom, I'm in the middle of potentially some madness.
Yeah, and listen, if it is done, if the extension is done, we've been hearing that it was done and it was a formality. But, I guess the conversation has been, okay, why haven't they announced it? And for the longest time, I've been saying, well, they would just wait till everyone's here in town. Matthews will be in town. All the media will be here. You're not going to have to drag people from summer vacations. And even for him, having your teammates around, you plan a nice dinner, everyone's together. It's like a nice way to get the ball rolling on training camp. But, if they want to sit here and announce it on August 23rd, I'm sure a lot of Leaf fans will be very happy. Like, I know Leaf fans will have a lot of intrigue as to how long the term is, what the AAV is going to be. But listen, you get your best player, you get your franchise centerman, locked up, however long it is, usually a good thing. Team wants to win. Team wants to be good right now. You need that guy.
The comment section is blowing up on the OverDrive X account. No surprise. I do agree with you that Leafs fans will be over the moon. I do question, though, like the timing. Like, what else was coming down the pipeline? Or it's a why now? I mean, we so infrequently hear from these guys in the summer. To have started the show with the Nylander comments from earlier today.
Well, so that one, they're doing a European media tour right now,
right,
in Sweden. So that's why we heard from Nylander.
But he said something, is my point.
Yeah.
He said something on the day that now looks like the day that Matthews has signed his extension.
Well, the Matthews one for me is more unprovoked. Like, Nylander was sitting down with the media anyways, so he was going to say something. Regardless of what he said, we were going to take that and kind of run with it. The Matthews tweet is completely unprovoked. So who knows? Like, we haven't heard anything yet as far as what it means. But, you know, if we take it for face value, Auston Matthews loves being a Maple Leaf. So there you go.
Well, there's at some point in the season, there were some Leaf fans that questioned that. So at least we know that much.
No, never.
Joining us now on the Maple Toyota Hotline is the voice of the Toronto Maple Leafs on TSN 1050 and the TSN Radio Network, Joe Bowen. Joe, what's your reaction to the news here? I thought we were just going to have a conversation about Notre Dame and the NFL.
I told Austin to wait till I was on and just, let it squeak out then, and then you could get me off the air as fast as you could to get on with real important stuff.
Yeah, thanks, Bonesy. That's very nice of you. It's your big appearance this summer, and 5 minutes before you're going to come on, Auston Matthews tweets about how much he loves being a Maple Leaf. Listen, we all know, like, he said it. He's gone by the script that every player kind of goes by. I want to be a Leaf long term. But if it does get done today, are you surprised that it happens on August 23rd? Did you expect it earlier or later? Like, where are you at with that?
No, guys, there's another month before they even think about dropping the puck. I mean, the issue that we have nowadays, as opposed to the olden days when I was around and even Frankie Corrado was playing, is that every day we have to talk about something. And whether it's your show or the millions of bloggers and things that are going on every day, they need something to talk about. And so it gets dragged up, and the white noise, as everybody seems to call it now, is just deafening. And, there is no rush. I mean, Mr. Treliving is working hard at getting things organized and moving into a new office and whatnot. And I think that everything will be done in its due process and due time. And I don't think there's any reason to be worried about whether it's done today, tomorrow, or whenever. I think that it's going to get done. And if this is a bit of an inkling that it's coming faster than slower, then so be it.
So reading between the lines then, if this has come out now, it's because Auston Matthews is sick of us talking about it? And that we're going to have to find something else to talk about on Friday, Bonesy? Is that what you're telling me?
Well, in short, yes. It is. The times have changed so much because information is not something that's going to come out next week after I've talked to a reporter and he's going to say something or write something in a week's time or whatever. Yep. It's this second.
Instant.
It's this very second. And, that's the world we're living in. And it's the world that these guys have to understand as well and cope with. Things that never were a situation 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 years ago.
So, Bonesy, what do you make of the moves that Brad Treliving made, especially up front, bringing in Bertuzzi, bringing in Domi, bringing in a guy like Ryan Reeves? Like, it's going to give this team a different look up front. Do you like it?
Frankie, I think the look is the exact same as what they had when the season ended. The names have changed. And I like the fact that they have gotten more physical and bigger. And I think that's something that we've all talked about over the last number of years, especially when the postseason arrived on the doorstep. And now, will they tinker a little bit more when they get to the trade deadline next year, if what we think will happen, and that is this team being one of the better teams in the National Hockey League. Tyler Bertuzzi is going to stick his nose in. Max Domi is just going to be invigorated like nobody's business, I'm sure, playing here at home. The addition of Matthew Nyes for the whole season and, of course, Ryan Reeves. I mean, all of this points towards a team that will be better in the postseason or built more for the postseason. So what they're going to have is an entire hockey season to play with one another to build towards that event at the end. And that can do nothing but help. And then at the end, maybe you add another piece or two, depending on what's required. And I think that's I'm excited about it. Hey, one of the things I've often loved, and I'm afraid that it's no longer part of the game, is a good fist fight, as long as I'm not in it.
Well, Bonesy, Leafs fans will be very happy that this is official. The Toronto Maple Leafs X account, formerly known as Twitter, has confirmed 4 more for 34. So it's a 4-year extension for Auston Matthews. We're waiting on the numbers.
But we got the number. We got the number. Our boy Chris Johnson just tweeting out that it's a $13.25 million AAV for Auston Matthews.
May I just release this? 0.325, 4 more years. Auston Matthews, you heard it here first. I'm the insider, Joe Bowen.
Joe Bowen, insider, voice of the Maple Leafs. All right, Bonesy, the numbers are in. So Auston Matthews, a 4-year deal, $13.25 million. Is this what you expected?
You know what? I'll take anything that's there. I think that when you take a look at how the league is going and what it has gone through in the last 3 or 4 years, it's probably a good contract for both parties. Certainly the cap has to go up if we don't have another one of these damn COVID infections and a shutdown. The league seems to be going in the right direction. A lot of things are going to change in the next little while with television rights and everything else. So I think both parties are probably looking at that and saying, you know what, in 4 more years, this guy's going to be a really good hockey player and demand whatever he wants. And on the other side of the coin, Auston Matthews is saying, I want to stay in Toronto. I think we've got something good going here. I think there's a chance of winning the ultimate prize. And although his tweet came out ahead of the announcement, I think that's what we learned.
Frankie and I were just talking about, why. And to be honest, that there's a skepticism when you see that it's come up from the player. It comes out on a Twitter account. Grappler's first reaction was he hacked potentially?
I was hacked last year. Never mind Auston Matthews.
Was that all those tweets about Aaron Rodgers and how much you don't like him anymore and Jordan Love's your favorite quarterback?
I don't believe I ever said any of that. That could possibly have been it. I don't.
Well, so now Auston Matthews gets done.
Yeah.
Now all eyes are going to shift to William Nylander, right? And Auston Matthews, 13.25. Connor McDavid, he surpasses him. I wonder now where William Nylander stands on this. Do you think there's any more incentive to Willie to try and get his deal done? Or do you think he still has that same mindset? We heard him talking today, Bonesy, how, everyone relax. We're going into the season. I have 1 more year left on my deal. It's not something that needs to get done right away. Do you think Matthews getting this deal done maybe nudges Nylander along?
Well, it could, but you know what? One of the things history tells us a great deal, and a lot of it is don't forget it. And, Nylander went through a similar situation and went past the deadline and everything else. So having said that, it would take really a change in direction maybe from what Willie has done in past, but I certainly hope so. I think that the Matthews coming back reinforces the fact that this group looks upon itself as being one of the elite groups in the National Hockey League and a chance to win. So I sincerely hope that that's what is going to go through his mind. But it obviously now starts a whole new ball of rolling down the hill as to who's next and what will happen. And has anyone checked Nylander's Twitter account?
We got the Grappler doing it right now. On Nylander, I was just going to say, though, because his comments, as Frankie said, he's in Europe. It's media day. He's doing the car wash. He was going to be asked about it, so he was going to say something. But the fact that he said there's no urgency, what's the rush? I wonder if it feels like there's some type of urgency now. To have them both done before the season starts was the ideal situation, no?
Season doesn't start till October, boys. We still got 2 months almost. So I think that obviously now Brad Treliving's focus will be that, tantamount to getting that done by the start of the season. But there's a lot of time ahead. And I think just the fact that Matthews is done now has to really kind of create a bit of a snowball effect, one would hope.
Question for the two of you. Was Matthews always going to be the deal done first, though, Frankie?
Yes. It just felt like it was, hey, you're one of the best players in the game. You're our franchise centerman. Like, we're going to do everything we can to get this deal done. Bonesy, I don't know if you feel any different, but it just felt like it was pretty straightforward as far as getting the Matthews deal done. He held a lot of the cards.
Well, he held all of the cards.
Right.
Let's not be foolish here. I mean, he held all of the cards in the deck, and the Leafs had to get him done one way or the other before even thinking about Willie Nylander. So I think that this now will probably enhance the dialogue that's going to go on between those two parties. But with Auston Matthews in the fold for another 4 years, I think that that's a very important piece of the puzzle for Brad Treliving, and I think that he's done a terrific job getting things done and assembling this group going into October. And, I think that it will get done. I would be surprised if Willie Nylander wants to go through that process again.
Frankie, you and I were talking about the win window and how I feel like the win window for this Leafs team is shrinking. He's going to be 31, Auston Matthews, when this deal is done, this 4-year deal. I think that that's going to put not more pressure on the team. This was already was a ton of pressure, but you're definitely looking at, like, that's, you talk about the intangible or the debate about what that window is. It's undeniably a 4-year window. Do you agree?
Well, yeah, sure it is. I mean, but it's been a window every year. You have to get into the tournament in order to have a chance to win it. And they have put together a group here that through 82 games is going to get you into the tournament. And yeah, some of the tinkering and everything else hasn't worked. And that's too bad. But as you know, Frankie, this is the most difficult trophy in sport to win, both mentally and physically. And you catch a break here, something goes right there, and all of a sudden you're toting it around the ice. But I think that under the circumstances, their core and what they have here and what they have now assembled around them makes this team a much more difficult team to play throughout the course of the regular season. And I think that that's going to translate big when the postseason starts.
Well, ultimately, Bonesy, you know this, winning is all that matters, and that's what fans care about, and fans want to see that the most. And Auston Matthews signing this deal, there's one number that really sticks out, and it's a 4-year deal. And I'm sure Matthews in his camp pushed for this 4-year deal, thinking that he's going to be 31 by the time this expires. The cap will have gone up significantly, and it's a great opportunity at that point to sign the next deal that sets you up for the rest of your life. Now, in the meantime, the Maple Leafs have a window to win. Is there going to be enough piece of the pie left over for other players? Because you look at it right now, Matthews at 13.25, it's over McDavid's 12.5, and McDavid is eating 15% of the salary cap. So Auston Matthews is going to be eating roughly that or a little bit more as the cap goes up here. Like, is that's still the biggest concern? Is there enough to go around for everyone else?
Well, the enough to go around will be dictated by the National Hockey League and whether and how much the cap goes up. And this is what both parties are literally banking on that, aren't they? Both parties are banking heavily that there will not be any pandemics, that things are going to move smoothly, that the influx of cash into the league as a whole is going to grow exponentially towards salaries. And I think that's what both parties have put their cards on the table. Okay, NHL, let's go forward and improve in this area. And everybody else that's in the area underneath those salary numbers are pulling for the same thing. Is there going to be enough in the pie for me? And you're talking about a Pontus Holmberg or John Klingberg coming up for contracts in a couple of years, whatever. Where am I going to fit in with all of this? So
right.
That's where Auston Matthews' group and the Leafs are banking, and that this league is going to grow in that department and grow quickly.
And naturally, Bonesy, the criticism is going to be that it is a 4-year deal and he didn't commit the full 8 like a lot of the star players around the league have done. But if you're the management group and you're putting this deal together and Matthews tells you, I'm not going 8 years, I'm going to 4 years, I don't know how much control you have over that situation. So I don't know if you can find much fault in Brad Treliving and the management group. They need to get a deal done. Matthews wants 4 years. He holds all the cards. Like, the criticism there is somewhat invalid because, or else don't make the deal and don't have the player. And guess what? Your team's not any good. You can't, like, he holds the cards and you got to kind of abide by what he's thinking. He's that good of a player.
Well, sure it is. And you know, maybe we will and maybe we won't find out who was opting more for the 4 years and how that, obviously the Leafs would have probably liked longer. But again, I think that you're kind of hamstrung there, aren't you? He has to be the number one person on this team. He has to be the guy at the top of the salary. No questions asked, whatever. If that's the term, then that's the term. And I think both parties now that it's done, are looking forward to seeing that this league improves enough cash-wise that more can be spread elsewhere.
It's a deal we weren't expecting today. I keep looking at the date on the calendar, and you're right. We've still got a month and a half before the regular season starts. A month and 3 weeks, actually, to be specific. And here we are talking about Auston Matthews around for 4 more years. But I'm with you, Frankie, that'll be the criticism from Leafs fans. It's always got to be somewhere. Happy that he's here. Happy that it's done now. Happy that the conversations about when it'll be done is over. But hey, how come it wasn't 8?
Well, listen, it's fair. It's a fair criticism, but they have no control over that. That's the bottom line. Like, unless the player is willing to do it, if the player's not willing to do it, you get your deal done and you try and ice as good of a team as you possibly can around the player. And hopefully you have a couple good broadcasters up in the booth calling the games. Eh, Bonesy?
Hey, that'd be nice. Wonder if there's any of that cash laying around.
You should find some up there. Are the Oreo sandwiches still as frequent? Post-pandemic, I've not been up there. I heard that they're not as...
They used to have the great sandwiches at the Gardens. They were terrific.
Are you talking about the ice cream sandwiches?
Yeah, the Oreo ice cream sandwiches.
Those ice cream sandwiches. Oh, yeah.
Those are
if
there.
you can get there before Corrado gets to them, yes.
Right.
Do you know Jim Taddy at all? Reg Dunlop? You know Jim Taddy?
I've spoken to him, but I've never met him in person.
Okay. He's usually in there.
Yeah?
Yeah, he's in there very early. Early and often.
Yeah, I missed out on those the few times that I was up there. Got to ask you some real important questions before we finish, Joe. How happy are you that Patrice Bergeron retired so he's going to stop tormenting the Leafs?
Hey, along with everybody else that cheers for a team in that division. Are you kidding? I guess so. But what a tremendous career, and what a tremendous hockey player too. So the next stop is that nice little museum down on Front Street.
There you go. Well, Joe, enjoy watching Aaron Rodgers play for the Jets. I know you won't miss a game, and I'm sure you'll be rooting for him.
Oh, absolutely. Hey, I cheered for Brett Favre when he was. Well, not when he was with Minnesota, but I cheered for him when he was with the Jets, too.
Joe, this was a pleasure. I wish we could get to more football talk, but we had some great Auston Matthews conversations. So I look forward to speaking again soon.
Okay, guys. Take care. Have a good summer.
Joe Bowen, finished strong. The voice of the Toronto Maple Leafs, joining us on the Maple Toyota hotline. Build your next dream Toyota at Maple Toyota and check out Maple Toyota's pre-owned inventory arriving daily. It's time to Toyota. Visit mapletoyota.com.
We should fire up a poll question. Grappler, what do you think about a poll question today? Any interest in that?
I love the co-producer.
What do you have in mind?
Does Auston Matthews deserve to be the highest paid player in the league? Yes or no?
Okay,
what do you think?
there we go.
Let's fire it up.
I love it.
Let's get the fans involved.
Let's get it going. We will discuss with Jamie McLennan next.
Oh, Noodles. You got Noodles out of vacation?
I love it.
Wow.
I love it. Awesome. Looking forward to it.
See, this is what we missed yesterday. The grappler with the...
And thank goodness this didn't happen yesterday because it would have made my being remote yesterday a lot more difficult.
A real nightmare. Yeah, I didn't feel as it didn't feel the same without him there. I wasn't as intimidated.
Right. He's
a towering,
he's very intimidating.
And he knows that I don't feel the same way as him about golf. So he's always just waiting to get a swing in, get a line in. I never know if it's going to be an actual stick or the left hand. I'm always worried.
Exactly.
Why has he got a name like the Grappler if he's such a gentle giant? I don't get it. This is Overdrive, much more Auston Matthews conversation. If you've just tuned in, Auston Matthews is sticking around for 4 years at $13.25 million. We're going to talk a lot more about that on Overdrive on TSN 4, TSN Radio 1050, and the iHeartRadio app. Overdrive is brought to you by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. This is Overdrive, though Hayes and the O-Dog are not around. You're listening to me, Brendan Dunlop, all week. Today,
Reg Dunlop.
Very happy. Reg Dunlop. Yeah, you can call him just Reg, not Reggie.
No,
Reg?
You're Reg. If you still had the long hair, it would be Reggie. But you got a haircut, so now you're Reg.
I'll take that. I do stick to number 7. I love having the single digit on the back of the hockey sweater.
Yeah.
I also love, Frankie Corrado, that I have you, a former Toronto Maple Leaf, as my co-host today, as the Maple Leafs make one of the most impactful moves of the last 25, maybe 50 years, people would say.
Massive.
Signing Auston Matthews to a 4-year extension, $13.25 million is the AAV. That means he's making $750,000 more on the AAV than Connor McDavid.
Connor McDavid's deal was signed in 2017. So we're, 6 years later, and Auston Matthews is only $750,000 more. The AAV is actually, it's a nice number. It's a nice number for Toronto. It's, where things are heading with the salary cap going up. That should be a number where we look at it and say, if everything goes Auston Matthews' way and he keeps filling the back of the net and he's scoring 50 goals, we should be able to look at that down the road and say he left some money on the table. Like he did. He left some money for people around him on the team to, for the team to sign some good players and provide a winning team around. Now, the thing that people are going to get stuck on is the 4-year term.
Yeah.
But that's his choice. He's going to be 31 when that's up, and that probably leads him to the, his last contract, whether it's a 7 or an 8-year deal that brings him into retirement. But this is where we're at. The Leafs get it done. I think a lot of people were kind of bracing for it to be between that 3 and 5 year term.
Yeah.
And the AAV, when you look at it, is probably going to be a good number for Toronto down the road.
Do you think that they'll be able to, spend some money that he may have left on the table to put better pieces around him, that they'll be able to do that before the 3rd or 4th year of this deal?
Oh, I would imagine. They have something like 13 UFAs at the end of this season. Well, he was going to be one of them, so there's 12 essentially, right? So this team could look very different. And, Auston Matthews getting that deal done, it's really important. It's important to just kind of have that. That's the number, and everyone's coming in under that. Every team has that one player that no one's making more than.
As surprising as it is that we've got this deal at in the 5 o'clock hour on a Wednesday, I'm very happy that this did not come down at 6:30 on Friday.
Yeah,
that feels like that would have been my luck. That's a very Canada soccer move to drop a press release at 6:38 on a Friday.
This is very on brand for Overdrive that Hayes isn't here, because anytime Hayes
stuff happens
off the show, big things happen. But then we get big guests to replace him.
Right. I guess.
And I'm not talking about you and I.
No, you'll notice that I said that this is Overdrive without Hayes and the O-Dog, but it is Overdrive with Noodles today, as Jamie McLennan joins us on the phone. Noodles, what's up, man?
Not much. How are you guys doing today?
Well, it's just another Wednesday, in Leafs land. I miss you in here, man. I was hoping that I might get the chance to have you on my left-hand side, but instead I've got you sounding like the voice of God in my ear today.
Nothing wrong with that. I'm on the tie line from home. I was just about to have a little dinner, and then there was a vicious rumor that there was a signing. So I'm like, all right, let's make this happen here. Heard you guys coming in. I mean, I agree. I think there's some... I think it works for both sides. 4 years, the term isn't too crazy. The money's not too crazy. It kind of sets the bar, but not. I think a lot of us felt that if Matthews was really wanted to push the envelope, the number could have been a lot higher. So not a lot, but maybe higher than we expected. But 13.25 on a 4-year deal gives enough breathing room, I think, for everybody moving forward, going, okay, this guy wants to make it happen. Keep in mind, this is an extension, right? So there's 5 years, really, of Auston Matthews, right? So I think this is a good signing for both sides, and I think Brad Treeling has to wake up tomorrow pretty happy they got his star locked up.
He does. And you know what, Noodle? Since Auston Matthews has entered the league, no one has scored more goals than him. Like, I think sometimes maybe we forget that because of the down year last year. And when I say down year, that's a 40-goal year. Like, that's a lot of players' career seasons. And this was, this was a down year for him. But I agree with you. Like, I think at some point we'll look at this as far as the AAV goes and say, like, he wanted to be here, and he showed that by leaving a little money on the table so this team can go out and spend and provide a good team around him. Do you see it that way as well?
Yeah, and keep in mind that John Tavares comes off the books potentially, or, he does, he'd be unrestricted in the next couple of years. So that frees up $11 million if he doesn't re-sign or extend or whatever. And the cap is going up. I think what you needed to do is get through the flat cap situation, and you're starting to come out of it this year. Obviously, it's going to go up next year and kind of push through that. Now it's the makeup of the team, and you have to have success. Nobody's going to challenge these contracts if you have success. The reason why these contracts are talked about and ad nauseum, and I would say they're challenged, is because of the lack of success in the playoffs for this group. Auston Matthews held up his end of the bargain in the regular season, really since he stepped into the league. And he's had some good playoff performances, but not the ones where you're talking about, and we talk about it all the time. Leon Draisaitl is known as kind of a playoff performer right now. The kind of premier guy. You want to see Auston Matthews be able to do that in the playoffs and take his team deep. So, 13.25. I know people maybe wanted a little bit longer term, but in the hockey world, again, 5 years, because you're adding next year as he's playing on his original contract. This is 5 years of Auston Matthews. A pretty good situation.
It's not a 3-year deal. This to me, this seems like a good compromise. If the Leafs and Leafs Nation would have loved 8, to get 4, as you say, in actuality at 5, like, it seems pretty good. But why now, Jamie? It's August 23rd.
Well, I'll put it this way. I'd much rather have it right now than September 23rd or October. Can you imagine how noisy this market would be if day one of training camp and Matthews doesn't have a deal? And believe me, he has a deal for next season. That's the crazy part out of all of this is a lot of these players, it's almost like mandatory. You got to have him locked in by July 1st or he's walking, because we saw what happened with Matthew Tkachuk, Johnny Gaudreau. Those might be outlier situations where a lot of guys are able to get these extensions. Sebastian Aho gets an extension. Other guys who are unrestricted sign with their respective teams. Timo Meier, guys like that. Everyone is a little bit different. Matthews, whether he wanted a shorter term and they just kind of landed on 4. Either way, I think 4 is it's a livable number. You're right. Leaf Nation wants 8 because McDavid put in 8. McKinnon put in 8. Makar put in 8. I get it. And I'm not going to argue against it and defend it because I'm not in the mind of Auston Matthews. But I'll take 4 in essence, add in the 1. I'll take 5 of Auston Matthews if I'm a Leaf fan and Leaf Nation, because he's made that long of a commitment to be here and try and win.
Well, and the other thing, Jamie, like, you understand this from when you played, I'm sure. You always just wanted that reassurance that things were done around you and all you needed to do was play hockey. So a lot of the players are kind of conditioned to say, just give me the 8-year deal. I want to be locked in. I want to know what I'm making. I don't want to have to think about anything like that. This guy's different. Like, this guy, he's just built different. He's going to perform year to year. He has an opportunity here to do something for himself that not a lot of players have been willing or wanting to do, is to take, a 4-year deal, bring himself to 31 years old, and then sign his long-term deal from there. And as long as there's team success along the way, it really can be, one of those win-win situations. But he's essentially provided Brad Treliving, the new general manager, with 4 years to make something work around him, but he also has to hold up his end of the bargain. Agreed.
And I think there's a lot of, to unpack with this because, instead of enjoying this, there is going to be that, okay, why didn't you? Why didn't this happen? Could you have done this? Coulda, shoulda, woulda. But ultimately, what they know is they're locked in. That is the top of their pyramid. Now, other teams have a different number at the top of their pyramid, and that's where the argument begins, right? But Auston Matthews is, when he's at the top of his game, he's for sure a top 5 player in the world, depending on who you like, who you don't like. So we're not talking about second-tier superstars. This is elite franchise, number one centerman superstars. So you can compare against other guys and go, well, Jack Hughes is on this. Jack Hughes is, I think he's heading into that stratosphere of Auston Matthews and top-tier players, but he's not there yet. Matthews has proven it. He's won a Hart. He's been the Rocket winner twice. Like, he basically has earned this contract. So you can't be, if you're your teammate, you're not comparing yourself to Auston Matthews. You're comparing yourself to other guys around this. And he set the bar for the Leafs. So I'm fine with this deal. I think it looks great on both sides.
Today, William Nylander in Europe said that there was no urgency in terms of his deal. Is there more urgency now? Does he need to have it done before day one of training camp starts?
No, I'd like to see more urgency in his play sometimes. But other than that, I think it's, he's a very casual player, which makes him amazing because he doesn't panic any time with the puck in critical situations or not. But he's a very casual, laid-back guy, and I think that serves him well. But if I'm William Nylander, this is what I was just talking about. Take Auston Matthews off the table. Like, there's going to be a lot of people go, Matthews makes $13.25. How can Nylander make $5 million less? Well, he's not Auston Matthews. Auston Matthews is in a different stratosphere.
Right.
He's got it. William Nylander has to be comparing himself more to Mitch Marner and other players around the league. Now, Marner, again, is a 100-point player. William Nylander's not a 100-point player. So I don't think the urgency, but I think there is comparables on both sides where they'd like to get to. It's unfortunate because we all play the comparison game, and I guarantee you there's going to be people out there going, well, Matthews is not $5 million better than William Nylander. Take Nylander and Matthews comparison off the table. They're not. I mean, Matthews has scored 60 in this league, won a Hart, and he's known as one of the top 5 players, if that, maybe higher, on the planet. William Nylander's not that. So, that's no slight on him, because everybody else is in that conversation as well. There's only a couple handful of top-tier players, elite superstars in this league, and Matthews is one of them. So I don't think the urgency is there. It'd just be nice. I think from a standpoint where you don't have to just go, all right, like there's always going to be a question mark. What are they doing here? What are you doing there? Instead of having everything buttoned up, it's like, let's go play and have a good regular season and try and win a Stanley Cup. So would it be nice to have it done? Absolutely. And I think the fans would like it done. I'm sure management wants it done. And I'm sure to a point William Nylander wants it done, but I don't see any urgency from either side.
Well, no, and so many times things go down to the wire because that's when the urgency kind of kicks in, right? It's like, okay, time is running out. We got to get this thing done. And for Nylander, he just has that personality where it's like he's pretty relaxed. He's pretty calm. Like he's going to go out and do his thing and not really be bothered by it. The one player around the league that this might pertain a little more to than Nylander is Pettersson out in Vancouver, who he's a restricted free agent with arbitration rights. But he just had a 102-point season in Vancouver, and he said today, he's like, yeah, I'm not even thinking contract. I'm just going to go out there, have a great start to my season, and then, we'll deal with it. So different mentality, but he's like, I'm putting it to the side, and now, he's a number one centerman, but he's not in that Matthews category that you're talking about, Jamie, where it's like McKinnon, Matthews, Draisaitl, McDavid, he's probably in that tier below it. But now you can start making the comparisons. Okay, if Matthews is at 13.25, where is he? Is he at 11? Is he at 10.5? Like that can kind of ballpark it from there.
Well, I mean, Marner's a 100-point guy making 10, whatever. What is it? What, 10-8 we'll call it, or round down, round up? The numbers are so, okay, 10-9. So 10-9. Okay, so almost 11. But, you've got a situation where are you comparing against guys in Toronto that maybe set the bar differently? Or, if you traded, for example, if anybody got traded to New Jersey and the bar is what? Jack Hughes. Jack Hughes is the bar. So what does Jack Hughes make, right? So and again, timing of contracts, all of that type of stuff. So Vancouver's going to have their own, salary matrix. You can't just go, well, Mitch Marner makes this, so Pettersson's got to make this, because there'll always be somebody in the league going, Leon Draisaitl makes 8.5. Like, I'll take him for the next couple of years at 8.5 over anybody's contract. Peter Chiarelli gets a lot of, he gets boot in
he gets
between
a lot
the
of
legs.
flack, yeah.
He gets a lot of flack, put it that way.
Yeah.
Good way to put it.
Yeah, I'm trying to soften a little bit, but he gets booted a lot for a lot of things he did, but that McDavid and Draisaitl contract looks pretty good. So Pettersson, I think he's a double-digit player for sure. Like, so what is that, 10.5? Look at Pasternak, what he signed for. He broke through that matrix in Boston, but he's a top-tier player. Like, Pasternak is – we have this argument all the time, or debate, who are the top 10 players in the league? Because I think the league's full of 20 top 10 players.
No
really?
Kidding. You could configure them like however you want. And Joe from the Bridge put something together for us here, Noodles.
Oh,
and
yeah? What's you got?
It's the percentage of the cap when all these deals were signed. So it's not highest to lowest, but here's a couple key ones. So when McDavid signed in 2017, that was 16.6% of the cap. McKinnon signed for 15.2% of the cap. Right. And Pasternak signed for 13.6% of the cap. This Auston Matthews one comes in just under 16, so 15.8, which makes sense, right? Like, he's not McDavid. That's the undisputed best player in the league, but he's right there, and he's just under it. So it does make sense.
Well, and keep in mind, as the cap goes up, if you're using those percentages or something like that, McDavid's next deal is going to be large, like a lot larger. Like, there is a leapfrog process here, which I think people understand, and percentage of the cap, and you're trying to. This is where the numbers guys do a great job of it. You're trying to project. Okay, what's that cap going to look like in year 3 of this deal, and what's year 4? Like Matthews, in essence, he's got 4 years here, and then you're going to start negotiating again. What's the cap going to look like, and that percentage? What's the number going to be? Is it 16, 17, or whatever? And Austin's a big guy, and we can't forget, like, he's had a couple injuries. So if I'm Austin, I want a little bit of stability as well, because he hasn't, knock on wood for him. I knock on wood for all players, but you have to actually look at the reality is, he's had some real healthy seasons where he's dominated. He's had a few seasons where he's had, some structural issues with whether it's the back or the wrist or whatever they were talking about, shoulder, whatever he's had. And those are the ones that challenge him physically. So, if you're a player, you want that stability as well. You just superstars that kind of write their own ticket. And I think this is a nice ticket. It's a good ticket for everybody. And Leaf fans should be happy. I think Nylander's situation, it might be distracting, but they've got their team put together there. I think Brad Treliving, given this circumstance, has had a really good offseason based on some of the players that he's gone after and coveted and wanted to shape his team a little bit differently. But you got the big dog done before we're even talking about dropping the puck, because it's August.
I agree with you on all that, and I actually hadn't considered the consideration that Matthews would have for the stability and maybe if there is any injury concern. Recklessly speculating, I think that he would have asked for 14 and 3. That's what we all thought it was going to be between like a 3 and 5 year. We weren't getting the 8. I think that's what he.
Let's put it this way: he could have asked for more money. And what were the Leafs going to do? Say no? Like, no.
Yeah.
Like, he could have asked for more money, and they would have had to come to the plate with it. But
okay, so let's play the woulda coulda game then. He could have said, guys, I'm looking somewhere else. I'm an American kid. L.A. Kopitar's coming off the books. Yeah, I'm friends with Justin Bieber. There could have been a lot of like woulda, coulda, shoulda. This is a great scenario. Other than getting 8 years at that number, this is a great scenario for the Toronto Maple Leafs and Auston Matthews and his camp and Brad Treliving and his management group, because you got it locked up. And it didn't sound like, again, you don't hear any information trickling out, but this didn't sound like this was contentious and, like an ugly negotiation because it didn't drag out. They got it sorted out. And we're talking about a real nice number and some term on it. I think this is a really good situation for both sides, and people can kind of take that collective breath.
Let's end on the most important question. Did this news ruin dinner for the family?
Not for the family. No, they don't even know I'm gone. They're eating. They're probably laying on the couch now. Peg Bundy's probably eating bonbons. I have no idea, but I'm starving, but I'm good because I enjoy and I want to stick around and hang out. And Frankie, you're a busy guy, so maybe Reg and I can hang out a little bit. It'd be nice.
Yeah, hang out with
fine
Reg.
with that.
Keep Reg company.
I've wanted to do this for a long time, man. I know you know that, so I'm happy that I haven't had a full show with you yet, but to get a long segment on a big day like this, I'm happy, Noodles. Thanks for making the time.
Right on. Absolutely.
Noodles making an appearance on a big day. Auston Matthews sticking around for 4 more years. That's 5 because he had the year already at 13.25. Lots more to come on Overdrive. You're watching on TSN 4. We're about to change the channel to TSN 2 and listening on TSN Radio 1050 and the iHeartRadio app. The Toronto Maple Leafs did get down to business, signing a 4-year extension with Auston Matthews at $3.25 million. Noodles, man, what a Wednesday. I wasn't expecting that. I thought I was going to finally talk about golf. Your listeners and viewers are upset that I'm here talking about soccer all the time and I haven't got enough golf talking here.
Well, I mean, there's nothing wrong. What's wrong with talking about soccer, considering what's going on with Messi? I mean, it is the flavor of the moment right now with how popular and how dominant all the guy does is score down there. It's insane.
It's been amazing. You get one more chance to see him tonight in the U.S. Open Cup against FC Cincinnati, who is one of the best teams in Major League Soccer, but you still got to wait until he actually plays an MLS game. I'm glad that we now know that Auston Matthews will play 4 more years. In a Toronto Maple Leaf sweater. But what is it with when Hayes is away, big stuff happens?
I think it's awesome because you can tell his phone will be blowing up, and I guarantee you his Twitter account is just lighting up. And it's almost like a telltale. I feel like the Leafs PR situation, they probably reach out and go, Hayes is off. We need to do this now. Like, just to mess with them. I would love that story if Steve Keogh just is like, okay, we're going to, let's release it. They pick a date and they're like, okay, let's go through the schedule and see who's working. It would be awesome because a lot of times the Leafs, they fly under the radar and it's like a Sunday night at 9:00. Oh, by the way, we traded this guy. We fired this person. This is what did it happen at Wednesday at 4:30?
Yeah.
What was the news? It gave us an opportunity to talk about it. It's pretty cool.
Have you heard from Hayes today? Like, what are the chances that he's not even catching this until 8:30?
I think he's completely off the grid. We have a group chat with Hayes and O and myself, and it's been radio silent for a couple days. So I don't know what they're up to.
You guys don't hang out at all, eh? Like, you've not seen them since the last show in studio, or what?
I saw Brian. I've seen Hayes once. I haven't seen I don't think. But we've talked. But it's funny. We make these big plans and be like, let's do dinner. Let's do a trip with the families. It's feathers. It's 2 months later. We're like back at it. And then that's just how our relationship. But we talk all the time. So that's the beauty of it. It's just the group text will fire up. I guarantee you Hayes will surface tonight and then O will surface and then all hell will break loose. And you know what? This is good news. Like, this isn't a bad thing. Like, I don't know. Have you gotten, do you get a sense that there's any bad feedback about this contract at all?
It's still sinking in, right? We're still in the first hour of digestion. But I agree with Frankie that there'll be people out there upset in the Leafs land that it wasn't 8, that maybe it's a question of his commitment. And if it comes out slow, that's what people are going to say, right? So I just don't know what I'm supposed to talk about on Friday now that this deal is done, Noodles. But I'm glad that I had you to talk with, my friend. And
we'll break it all down. That's what we need to do. You can break it down in the next hour.
We'll do it with Gord Miller. We're switching channels on TV. You can watch us on TSN 2. This is Overdrive on TSN Radio 1050 and the iHeartRadio app.